Hello all, welcome back to All for United WFC. It's Euros week. We're nearly there. We're 2 days away now. We've been waiting for so long. It feels like from the end of the WSL season to now. I was chatting to somebody about an hour ago about this. It seems like it's been taking so long, but today we've had a new signing. We've had some announcements at the back end of last week. We're 2 days from the Euros. Starting to ramp up, isn't it? Anyway, today we will talk about Lyon very briefly at the start. We're not going to go too in depth because we are going to do a couple of shows obviously on this over the next week or so anyway, but we are going to talk about it at the start. And then, we're going to talk about all of the United girls across the tournament. We've got Vilde and Maria, we've got Honor, we've got Jackie, and obviously we've got the 3 Lioness girls as well. Who's going to go the furthest? We've got all of that to look forward to. I'm going to go around the house then and get kind of everyone's initial thoughts on Adriana Lyon, because it kind of came a bit out of nowhere today. It was a weird announcement time. It wasn't the usual kind of 12 p.m., 1 p.m. time. It kind of a bit later in the afternoon, but Charlie, I'll come to you first. What's your kind of initial thoughts, I guess, on this signing that's come out today?
My initial thoughts are I'm glad we're being active in the transfer window. That's one plus. But I don't. She adds depth. I don't think she strengthens our starting 11. So it still looks like a bit of a peculiar one to me, because you hope that what you get in will strengthen what you already have, and then your starting 11. Some of them going out to the bench, and then that's what adds strength in depth. So I don't really think it does that. Doesn't look like a long term purchase either, with her being 30, 31 or however old she is. So it's good that we're being active and we're doing bits and pieces, but probably not the big splash signing we were hoping for. Is what I would say.
Barry, throw the same question over to yourself for kind of initial thoughts, because there's a lot of people in the comments here saying it's a good signing, a lot of people happy, but there has been the other side of it. There's a lot of people maybe not so happy with this one.
I think, first of all, everybody needs to give a round of applause to Connor for doing an intro without having any dramas whatsoever. So, well done, Connor. Good to see you getting there. Good job, fella. No, seriously, I think Lyon, we had the discussion with Reese a few weeks ago, and he was really positive about her. And I remember sitting there and discussing with him why he was being quite so positive about her, and yet not seeming too sad that she was leaving the club. And I think really that's the bit that I find tricky, is that if you are sitting there as a fan of a club and you are able to say, oh, she'll fit in really well at your club, whilst not seeming to be too upset that she's leaving yours, it leaves me a little bit. I can't imagine ever seeing one of our players and going, oh, I'm really pleased she's going to Barcelona or to City or to any other club. If they're that good, you kind of want them to stay. Having said that, I have said since day dot that I will support Skinner and the rest of the team with who they choose to bring in. Certainly, as I said at the beginning, looking at her highlights package, she looked really exciting, and I think, Charlie's smiling there because she goes, we can all do a nutmeg, Barry. Well, yes, we might be able to, but she's about 5 or 6 in succession with some little Cruyff turns and everything. So, I think at the end of the day, we do have to accept the fact that she's 29. So, by no means is she, like we say, really going into the future, but we're not really looking for the future. We've got plenty of people when it comes to building for the future. What we need are the right here, the right nows, and people who've got the experience of winning. And she's got that, she's an Olympic gold medalist. So, she's been very active over the other side of what side are we on, the Atlantic or the Pacific? That big body of water between us and America. I'm far too ill to care about geography. But yeah, so I'm quite content with it, to be honest with you, Connor. I'm pleased that she's here, and I'll support her and give her everything that we would give to all the other players, to be fair. And, my hope will be that she adds to the team. Like I say, they'll live or die by that decision.
100%. Ellie, same question to yourself then before we kind of look to wrap up this short little intro. But what are your kind of thoughts when you saw that Adriana Lyon was confirmed? I think it's a 2-year deal.
To be honest, I was just really hyped up that they've actually signed someone, because it just took a little bit of a long time, like a few weeks or something. So then when they announced she signed, and then when I found out she was an Olympic gold medal or something, I thought, she could be actually really good for the team. So I don't know. I think I'm the opposite to you. I think maybe she might bring something to the team. Like I hope she brings like silverware this season. Like helps us bring silverware, because I think we needed someone like her to. I don't know. Like, I know she plays on the wings now apparently, but I've got seen for a forward as well. I think we really needed one of them. So hopefully she plays really good, and then that way we can have an opinion on her then and say, oh yeah, you're really good and everything. But to be honest, I'm just glad that we've actually come out and signed someone. But to be honest, I hope it's not just her. I hope there is a super signing. I really do. Not like Sam Kerr or anyone, don't worry, but like I just hope there's someone else. Just some, I don't know, someone a little bit better. Someone we can all be surprised at, because there's been a mixture of opinions on it today. Like half of us were really happy she's come, half of us like we still need someone else. Surely that can't be Mark's super signing now. Needs to be someone else. That's what I hope anyway.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, I agree with a lot of these comments. To be fair, I think Harry's right here. I don't think we have the depth for top three, so maybe this is a good signing. There's a couple of other names, i.e., I will name them, Williams and Garcia, that look very, very close as well. So you add those two in, but then you're looking at a whole team of kind of rotational players, and it's I can see both sides to it. And Titus there is responding to what Barry, I think you said earlier. Spurs weren't too sad with Berbatov left.
I've got to say about those Spurs are quite aware that they're Man United's feeder club, so they won't really be sad. They're fully aware. It's not the same thing.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm looking forward to the shows over the next week or so to really kind of dive into this, talking to fans or to get some West Ham fans on and some journalists and all kinds of things to kind of really look in depth about this, because this is not going to be the only signing. I'm going to come to each of you. I'm going to extend this out to 10 minutes, because why not? Let's just talk about this for a few more minutes. I'm going to ask each of you then if you were surprised that this has come out before the Euros, because as Ellie said, I think we're all happy that we've made a signing, because we've been crying out for the club to do something. But it's come 2 days before the Euros, and that's something. I know she's not obviously involved in the Euros, but it's kind of, I don't know. I think it definitely took me by surprise when I saw it. I think I was straight in messaged a couple of years like, what? Where's that come from? So Charlie, I'll throw it to you first, just very briefly then, in terms of, were you surprised that we've announced this just before the Euros, or because she's not involved in it, do you think that's why we've done it?
I was surprised in the sense that there wasn't very much fanfare. Like there's a couple of bits on Instagram, I think, that the women's they put on the women's profile, but for Man United it was very sort of low key. Particularly look at sort of how Arsenal are announcing sort of contract extensions. You'd have thought we'd have maybe gone for it a little bit more, and that might be a little bit part of the reason that people are sort of not excited about it, because it was kind of slipped in under the radar at 2:30 in the afternoon when most people are at work. There's been rumblings about this for a little while. This isn't a surprise in the sense that it's her, because there has been rumours for the last 2 weeks to a month that this was going to happen. But yeah, like a weird time for it to come out when the Euros are just sort of kicking off, and there's all the stuff in the media, isn't it, about the Lionesses on the way to Manchester. That's been the focus. I don't know, maybe there's an element of they wanted it to go under the radar. I don't know. That's just me surmising. But yeah, just the opposite of what Man United normally do when they make an announcement. That's what's surprising, is how they've done it, not the fact that she's come, because it's looked for a while like she was going to.
Yeah, I think, well, as we said, but I think, Barry, you were on this show about 3 weeks ago when we had Reese, West Ham fan, on to talk about Leon, because that's when these rumours, I think it was David Ornstein, actually, that initially reported this. And obviously when he reports something, you pretty much know there's something in it. And Harry's made another good point here about maybe why we're kind of waiting on this kit launch, because as you said there, surely she would have taken pictures in the new kit, or potentially not. She might have done a couple of things to there. We don't know. Like I said, it's like Charlie said, I do agree. I think it's been a little bit, it was like, here you go, here's a sign-in, on to the next thing. It was a bit of a, I don't know, Barry, I'll come to you on that one. Just the timing's a little bit weird, isn't it? That it's kind of sandwiched in between a lot of big news stories at the moment.
I suppose it feels a little bit weird insofar as Mark had said he wasn't expecting to make any signings until after the Euros. I suppose I just find it a little bit funny. We've all been sat here with, like, literally it's all I've seen on Twitter. Talk to us. Tell us we're getting people. and then we get people, and it's like, oh, but we're on time to do it, isn't it? So it's just like a typical United, really. We can never be happy, can we? And just go, oh, they're speaking to us at last. We go, oh, well, why now? As the Euros are starting. Listen, I've long gone at the times when football made any sense whatsoever in terms of what they do. I'm just pleased that actually, as Charlie said right at the very beginning, it's good to see that we're active. It's good to see that things have been happening, and the fact that this was mooted 3 weeks ago certainly shows that we are active, that we are doing things, that we are doing bits and pieces in the transfer market. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if there was another one before the Euros. To be honest, now if they've got it done, announce it. Why not? Unless they're, like you say, physically taking part in the Euros, and it could therefore prove a distraction, then yeah, I think they probably could get announced.
Might be that she's just out of contract now as well, mightn't it? Like it's a free, isn't it? So you've got to wait until she's out of contract. You can't announce.
Yeah, I think that's what John was saying a bit earlier on, that she was out of contract at the end of June. So maybe that's why. Potentially there. Ellie, I'll let you wrap up this kind of Lyon talk. Then you were obviously on a show with us talking about you wanted the club to announce things, to communicate a little bit more, and obviously, like we've talked about there, timing's a little bit weird. But I guess, are you happy that we've actually just announced somebody, albeit the timing's a little bit strange?
Yeah, of course. But like Charlie said, like different WSL clubs are a bit more interactive about the new signings. Like you get Tottenham and everything, they do a little video of them signing something and then they come out. We didn't do that really. We just announced it there and then. And then before seeing on the story, she put a question thing up saying, what's the best part about Manchester? So I thought, But I'm not moaning, because yeah, I'm glad we've actually announced someone, but like, yeah, it's not that interactive like other clubs. That's what I'm saying. That's all. I'd have loved to have seen like a video, and hopefully the kit gets announced now and then, because, well, not now because we might have some more signings, but I think it was pushed back a week or something. So hopefully now we get to see it. And all that.
100%. I think, yeah, well, there's a couple of players on the men's side, i.e. Cristiano Ronaldo, that might be delaying this kit launch as well, because of, the influence that he's got, and if he's potentially on the move, then that could push the whole operation back as well, because we all know how he sells shirts. We'll move it on a little bit then, because I said there's going to be a lot of shows. You'll see all 4 of us really over the next week or so talking about Lyon. I'm sure we're going to have plenty of shows, obviously, on this being our first signing and that kind of thing. So just keep an eye on the Twitter for those. We'll move it on to the main focus for the show then. We're going to be talking all about the kind of United girls in this tournament then. And we'll start off with the duo from Norway, I think, because I think, me personally, I think is the one that I'm kind of looking at with most intrigue, I think, just purely because they've got a lot of players that I like. I should probably be saying that on a channel that's going to be supporting the Lionesses, but there we go. We'll start off with Vilde then. And I just want to talk a little bit about kind of that influence that she potentially can have on that Norway front 5. And I call it a 5 because you could call it a front 3, but that midfield, you could probably call it a 6, to be honest, is just incredible as well. However, just before we went live, we were kind of looking at this. Vilde's not really started that many games for Norway at the moment. So, Charlie, just throwing it over to you first in terms of the influence that Vilde should have on this Norway team, because you've got Guro Reiten on the left, you've got Hansen down out on the right. Vilde's passing ability, I mean, the impact she can have there surely is better than anything you can ask for in that team.
I absolutely love Vilde. I think she's brilliant and an exceptional footballer. I think it says a lot about the strength and depth of Norway that she's maybe not getting as many minutes as she would like, probably because she's not had that many for us in the latter stage of the season, so it hasn't guaranteed her a place, because Norway is serious football inside. Like they'll be looking to go all the way this summer, I would think. But yeah, she's surrounded by players that will probably play to her strengths, really. And we've seen it when she's played for us, the ability to find the runner, to make the line breaking pass. But also we've seen her quite a few times. She scored a couple of goals for us sort of mid-season, where she's really good at making the late run into the back post or into the box and burying the ball, really. So I think she's a player who probably goes under the radar a little bit, because she's not a massive name, is she? She's not the first name on your lips when you think about Norway. But she can cause all sorts of problems for all sorts of sides, because she can drop deep and she can collect the ball. She can dictate play really well. I think she talks about herself, doesn't she, as being sort of an 8 and a 10. So she's quite happy and quite comfortable playing at different positions on the pitch. And we've seen her play 1 or 2 times as sort of a bit of a right-sided wide forward on 1 or 2 occasions when we've needed her to. So there's all sorts of facets to her game. And what an option. We're saying she's not got any minutes, but what an option coming off the bench when you need someone to come on and change the game. But I have no doubt that as the sort of competition progresses, we'll see more and more minutes from her. I wouldn't mind if we didn't, because that'll help the Lionesses, and it means she'll come back to us well rested. But I can't imagine her not having an impact on Norway's run, which I imagine will be lengthy in the competition, because she's got so much to offer.
100%. I fully agree with John here. I think we're going to see the kind of real Bo Russo at this Euros. I think even maybe that is why, actually, and Barry, I'll put this question to you, actually, in terms of maybe that's why she's not starting as much, because we know Norway's depth is not, when you look at some of the other sides, particularly England, the depth is there. Maybe that's why Bo Russo potentially is not starting. Now, personally, I would be starting her. A little bit biased, obviously, from a United point of view, but kind of just talk to me, Barry, about kind of her influence and whether you think maybe she's better as kind of that impact coming off the bench. We saw it the other day, actually, against Denmark.
Well, I think it's a tricky one, because if I was to put myself in the position of an international manager, you would potentially be picking players that you see starting for their clubs. And I think one of the issues that Vilde's got is that she's not starting for her club. So therefore, whenever you see Vilde coming on in terms of the league, you're seeing a player who's impactful off the bench, and she has certainly been that. I think United's best periods of play over the course of the season actually came when Vilde was starting. I think it was the sort of the Vilde, the Katie, and the Hayley Ladd sort of trio that I think managed to do it the best. Now, obviously, Katie and Hayley are not Norwegian, so that doesn't help her in that respect. But what I do think is important for Vilde is starting those games. And, this was initially going to be our Friday show before we started getting rid of all of our players and causing some dramas there, playing havoc with my own shows. It was supposed to be a chat about what does Vilde need to do to start for United, because she's not starting for her country. She's not starting for her club. Eventually, that does start to get on players, nerves, really, because they don't come to football clubs because they want to sit on the bench. So I think that's quite important. You need to be starting for your club, really, if you're harbouring any thoughts and desires, I think, of starting for your international team. It's a bit of a sad state of affairs if you're starting for your international team but not your club. Unless, of course, you like City or Arsenal or someone like that. Having said that, though, I fully agree with what John said. There's no doubt in her talent. There's no doubt in what she can do. I think she's incredible. She's by far and away got the best chant of any United player, with perhaps the exception of Russo, with her new one, which I still sing just every once in a while. I'm just sort of wandering around the school and all of a sudden I'm singing Russo's song, which is a bit odd, but there you go. So, yeah, I think Vilde's superb. I think she can have a real impact in that midfield. I think it's interesting, again, is it a case of Norway are trying out different midfields, because they've had different midfields over the last 4 or 5 games that I've just seen. So I think it'll be that, but you will need a squad no matter what you do in the Euros. It's not going to be a one team thing. So I think Vilde's certainly got the opportunity to have a massive impact in this tournament. And I fully expect to see both England and Norway making it through to the next round. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
100%. Well, I think if we don't see England or Norway in the next round, something's gone wrong. I don't want to put that out there now, but I think something has gone wrong in our group.
There's no way they won't make it.
Oh.
So I reckon the result of that game will tell you a lot about the sort of chances of both sides. I think that's a massive game increasingly at the group stage, isn't it, for both?
Yeah, for sure.
It 100% is. And when we come to talk about honour, obviously the winner of our group will play that winner of the honour group, I'm going to call it, with Germany and Denmark and Spain. And people are looking over Finland. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're not going to get through, but they're no easy team to push past as well. But Ellie, just talk to me about Barisa from your point of view then, in terms of that influence that she can have. Because as Barry said there, and John said in the comments, when Barisa played for us, you know, that kind of run we went on, she was integral to the team, got a couple of goals there, and was kind of that key factor in the team. But what do you think it is then that kind of the reason why maybe she's not starting for Norway, and the kind of impact that you think that she can have on this team?
Probably because she doesn't start for United that much, so she only comes off the bench. But you see, I'm sometimes surprised because when she comes off the bench for United, she do have a real impact. And then obviously not getting picked for her country all the time. Maybe I thought that was a bit strange, but then again, we've got to protect our players at all costs and all that. That's why sometimes we might not start. But I mean, I think she'll be really, really good for country this year. But I mean, I don't really follow all the international teams. I only Lionesses really. No, that sounds bad, but yeah. And I just think I hope she'll be really critical for them this Euro to see if they progress far. And coming from a Lioness fan, I really hope they do. Just to see Barisa, shine more and more. And like what said, we can actually see the real Barisa this summer, I think. Like scoring goals maybe, or just being good and with the passes and all that. So I hope to see the real Barisa this summer, really.
Do you know what I sort of chatted about? If she doesn't get minutes, that's fine because she'll come out well rested. But what I honestly think is if she can get minutes, if she can have a good Euros, that might actually help us out. If she's firing on all cylinders when we kick off the new season, that could actually be quite useful for us. Good Euros, you can't ignore that on the biggest stage, can you? She might muscle away into that starting 11.
100%. I think we're going to see that with a couple of players across the Euros. It's something I'm going to touch on a little bit later on, but I think we're going to see that this summer. It pushes the price tags up of players that are under contract, but it also pushes the manager. It forces the manager's hands, really. If you have a good tournament, you can't ignore that. So, flicking it over to our other Norwegian then. Maria, playing obviously alongside two other WSL players, Mjelde and Blackstad there. It's not a bad defense. A lot of people talk about Norway as kind of this weak defensive unit, but quite good going forward. But it's not that bad, I don't think. It's not up there with one of the best teams in the tournament. But I think when you're looking at those three there, Maria, Blackstad and Mjelde, it's not that bad. So Charlie, just throwing it over to you first in terms of the influence that Maria can have on this team, but also kind of having two other players from the WSL alongside her, whether that has an impact as well, and just I've written down the calming influence that Maria will have on that back line.
Yeah, I remember when we had Phil, is it O'Connor? It is O'Connor, isn't it? We had him on, and we talked about. You might have said it, Connor. 300 bush. You might have talked about Norway being so good at good sort of midfield forwards, and then is the defense what could win it or lose it? And he was like, absolutely not, absolutely not. The defense is phenomenal. There's no issues there. And obviously Maria's someone who's been playing every time. So Norway pick her consistently. So obviously think she's a really good player. I think there are sections of our fan base that really love her and other sections that aren't quite sure what she offers all the time. But around the national side, a really good national side with lots of good defenders, you've just named some of them, lots of good options. She's been consistently picked. And not because other players are injured, but because she clearly offers something important. And I think you're right about, I think it can be helpful if you've got players not necessarily coming from the same team. Like if you had a really good centre-back pairing for the same team, that can be good. But if they're coming from the same league and quite a combative league as well, I think that will help if they're used to playing a similar style of football and sort of training and developing in the same way. But I think their defensive unit looks really good. The only one for them just might be the goalkeeper. Maybe they're not quite sure who will play there. That might be their one chink in the armour for those. But I think Maria offers loads. I do think she's a calming influence. I think she's a warrior. I think in knockout football, because they'll get through to the knockout stages, you need players that are just going to jump in the way of anything and put their body on the line. And no one can say that Maria Torres-Dottir does not do that, because we saw that at the back end of the season. So if she was English, I'd have her in the Lionesses in that Euro squad, because I think she's underrated in lots of ways.
100%. That's kind of a key quality, really. I think when you're talking about her, for me, it's the calmness that she brings, because and that kind of willingness to, like you said, get in the way of anything. We saw that certainly at the back end of last season for United. Barry, just kind of same question to yourself, I guess, really, kind of the influence that Maria can potentially have, because I said a lot of people, when they're looking at this Norway side, they're really focused on the attack. I mean, why not? It's a fantastic attack, but for us as United fans, we've got Maria kind of leading the line in defence as well. So
we do. I mean, it's a really busy summer for Thor, isn't it? Because not only is she in the Euros, but she's in cinemas everywhere at the moment. So yeah, she's having a great time as our Thor. Told you so. I only get to see it's that bad. Eddie's gone. She's like, no, can't be doing this anymore. It's always the timing. I love it. Listen, I love Thor. I think she's brilliant. I mean, Stu Willie, who you obviously see on our alter ego site, he actually voted for her as player of the season. He was that impressed with her. I think she is. Who is it who said it? Harry's boy, unsung hero, 100%. And I don't know what it is about us as a club. We don't really seem to rave too much about defenders anymore. If they're fullbacks and they're surging forward, we go a little bit mad. But unless you're as if you're a centre back, you don't generally tend to get too much glory at all, really. I think we give Mary Earps a lot of credit, and rightly so, for what she does in terms of keeping clean sheets. But any goalkeeper worth their salt will explain to you that it's not just them who keeps the clean sheet. It's very dependent on the defenders in front of them as well. And Thor has probably been our most regular defender for the duration of the season. And that was the duration of the season where we kept 10 clean sheets. So, I think we do need to be a little bit more positive about her, I think. And the fact that she has picked every single game pretty much for Norway just goes to show. It's like you say, it's a high quality defence there. I've got no idea what the subs of Norway were like. But they've got some great players in that side. And, I've got Norway making it all the way to the final. So, I've got absolutely no doubt in my mind that that's a possibility.
Yeah, I think the only thing, because obviously we're talking about Maria here, I think Norway as a defensive unit, I'm not going to lie, against Denmark, certainly in that first half, it looked quite shaky. And not just because when you talk about the defence, you automatically assume the back five, the team defensively, I think were a bit shaky against Denmark. And if they are going to go the distance in the tournament, they're going to need to shore that up, most definitely. Ellie, I hope you're back with us. I think you are. So I'll ask you kind of the same question as well in terms of Maria's influence you think that she's going to have on this Norway side, obviously from what you've seen from United last season.
Well, it's going to be important because that stop she did in that game with her head, she's really good in the defence. Looked at towards the end of the season. Someone said that in the comments at first they didn't really rate her, but then she got better and better, and she really had, especially stopping them balls from coming past her and everything. So I think she'll be really important for Norway this summer. And like what's been said, I really do see them reaching semis maybe or something, especially with the back line, because the back line in the Norway squad, I think it's excellent, really is. So I think it can go all the way. And Maria is so important for them because she's like the one defending our back line at United. So, and it can just make her stand out more and more for the club. Because she starts normally most games for our club. So she's so important, and I think she's incredible anyway. So she's really going to play a part this summer, I think.
And also, just wanted to say, she played for Chelsea. You don't generally get the opportunity to play for Chelsea if you're not very good. They do generally tend to pick quite good players for that club, hence why they're so successful. So, you know, although I'm willing to accept that she's not there anymore, it's obviously, you know, it's not hard to accept that one, to be fair. Quite obvious, really. But you still don't get the chance to play there unless I really am not well. I'm sorry. I'm mumbling. Anyway, she played for Chelsea, so she can't be bad, can she? That's the too long didn't read version.
God, I was on a different tab then. I thought you were going to go on for a little bit more. Yeah, 100%. I did see someone's comment earlier talking about how far Norway will get. I think it was Peter's comment. I'll come back to that because we're going to talk a little bit at the end about which United player we think is going to go the furthest. Are we going to see any lifting the trophy at the end potentially? So we will come back to that when we talk a little bit more about those, because we'll fly back around to that. But moving across then to Spain, we'll talk a little bit about Honor and kind of her influence potentially on this Spanish side. As we just briefly said there, Spain's group, Germany, Denmark, Finland. It is, I think, the toughest group in the tournament. And so I'll open it up with kind of each of you with the kind of question then that Spain are going to have to be quite good defensively, especially to get out of that group. Germany's front line is frightening. Denmark, as we know, the players they've got there as well. So Charlie, just throwing it over to yourself in terms of obviously not on her own, because that would be asking too much, but kind of Honor's influence in terms of how she can help the team defensively, because they're going to need that kind of defensive protection, particularly against like a team like Germany that's that like to attack down the wings, and some of their strikers are just phenomenal.
I think she's hugely important. I think you can obviously see the importance because she plays regularly for them. She also obviously assists fairly regularly, which isn't a surprise for us. But I think we've talked about before, haven't we, that she's got such good attacking prowess, you sometimes forget how good she is defensively as well. I think her positioning is really good. Her ability to pick her moments as well to make a challenge and sort of press and ball recoveries is also really good. She's also, I think, good for Spain because they like to play with the ball a lot to feet and possession-based football as best they can. Sort of historically, that's been Spain, hasn't it? And she is a fullback who we've seen do it for Man United. She's not really a hoof it out type of footballer. She can keep the ball under pressure and pick the right pass and help start an attack. So I think she's massively important. And I'm most excited about seeing her link up with Garcia, who I think will be our next announcement. That's quite exciting as well. Sort of getting a little bit of an insight into what that might look like for us next season if things go well, fingers crossed. But she's hugely important, massively, and you can see that from the fact that she's consistently picked for them when they've got lots of options. Spain aren't a team light on options either, and she offers so much in both directions. Hugely important for Spain. I don't know if that means I think they'll win it, but they've certainly got the best right back in the world in their lineup, is what I will say.
100%. There's a couple of comments here. I just want to shout out Marty. Thanks for joining us. I believe Marty is on Friday, so you'll be seeing Marty come on, particularly talking about Adriana Leon as well, certainly on Friday, because I said that's definitely going to come back around. And 4th of July, I think that's supposed to say, not 4th birthday, I hope. And yes, it is Independence Day, I believe. Well, not believe, it is over in the States over there. John, that is a shout. Honor is the best defender in the competition by far. Barry, throw it over to you then. I'll just put you on the spot with that one. Is Honor the best defender in the competition? And talk to me a little bit about kind of what you think she can do for this Spanish side.
I mean, that's a tricky one because there's 4 spots. And I don't think it's apples and oranges comparing right backs and centre backs. They're very different jobs. Is she the best fullback in the competition? Absolutely, 100%. I can't say that I know enough about all the other clubs to successfully say whether or not she's the best defender as a whole. But absolutely, she's the best right back, 100%, and I would say probably the best fullback. She's better than Bronze, anyway, let's be honest. So, sorry, no, she's not. She's not better than Bronze, Bar, so you made the absolute right decision. Stick with her. I think that I don't even know how to say her surname because she wasn't on the list, was she? They did all those other names of how to pronounce people and don't know if it's Badger or Battle. So, we'll work that one out as we see fit. I think Spain they've got a good defence. And I think that's the thing. I think for Spain, their issue is going to be going forward. You look at their last 3 games, it's all very well and good sticking 7 past Australia, but they only stuck 2 past Scotland, and they drew with Italy. So I think actually at the moment their issues are what's happening going forward. But Honor absolutely has got everything you want in terms of they are fighting words, saying you're not wrong. I think she's got everything going forward. She's got everything. She's the most complete player I think I've seen for some time. There's no surprise to me that there was a big thing coming out about a new valuation for her, about 225 grand. And I think if you were to extrapolate that to men's prices, I think you're talking a good 80, 90, 100 million, without doubt. You know, she's that sort of level and she's that sort of good. So, you know, I think as a club, we can be really, really pleased that we've still got her. And, you know, look forward to what she's going to bring us next year. I think for Spain, without doubt, what Charlie said is absolutely right. They have got, if not the best, one of the best defenders in the world. And, you know, I kind of wish she was English, really, if I'm honest with you, because I think if we had her there, that would only add to the chances that we've got.
100%. Just hearing you all speak about our players here, and we've only discussed 3 of them, you know, kind of Vilde, Maria and Honor, and we've still got Jackie and the 3 Lioness girls to go here. A lot of our players, when you look at them, are one of the best in their squad. When you look at the teams, you know, that we're talking about, they're, you know, a key part of the teams that they're playing for. And I agree with this comment from Peter here. Yeah, that's why Honor was my player of the season last season. I just think she is the most complete, I agree, Barrow footballer, certainly that I've seen, you know, playing for us anyway. You know, if you're looking at the rest of the WSL, there's a few names as well. Ellie, throwing it over to yourself then for kind of, we'll look to wrap this up with the kind of Honor talk then, in terms of what you saw from her last season, influence she's going to have for Spain. Like Barry said, they're pretty much a regular in that team, but they're going to have to be defensively solid. Do you think that she can, you know, live up to that kind of defensive ability and have the influence going forward as well?
Yeah, and again, she's important to Spain.
I was looking forward to hearing the rest of that.
I think she's trying to tell us that she will be really important to Spain, and is going to be a massive. Oh, here she's back. She's back. Go, go, go.
I think.
She was there. She waved her hand at me.
Right, I'm back now. Right.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so I think she'll be really important because I really think she's the best player on the team, one of the best. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, you are. Carry on. Just keep talking.
I'm here. So I think she's one of the best in the team, and I just look forward to seeing her in the Euros. I mean, I can't lie, I don't see him going through the group stages because of the teams they've got. But I mean, I think Honor will play a massive part, and she's really good for club, so she can make the country. And I look forward to seeing her next season if she stays a Red. But I think she is now, not going anywhere from us just yet. So just look forward to seeing her next season, and then hopefully this Euro she'll just shine as a player.
Yeah, 100%. I actually, Marty, I think you are right here. I think that the issues that Spain are having, there's a lot of kind of what you'd call infighting and all kinds of things going on over there. And I think that's why potentially you know, as Ali said, they might not get out of the group, even though not that you'd expect them to, but they should have a good chance. But I think all this kind of stuff that's happening around that squad, it's certainly not helping their case. And in Honor's case, it's not going to help her progress on. But her getting an extended rest after all the minutes she played last season, I'm not against that at all. Sporty, thanks for joining again. Yeah, we're all looking forward to the Euros. We've got plenty of stuff on All for United coming over the next month really, that the Euros is on, and obviously all the transfer talk and everything else will be covered as well.
Can I just very quickly, I feel like Sang hasn't realised that, yes, she will be making a few short trips to London because 2 of their group games are in Brentford. So she is going to have to make that trip, mate, yeah. I think that's as good as it comes, though, fella.
Oh, Barry, I do love you, Barry, on this channel. You
I
are.
knew my massive wall chart would come in handy, even though it won't sit on a bag properly.
And yeah, Marty's pretty much just backing up what we're saying there in terms of the group that they're in, Denmark and Germany. You can't mess about with those teams. They will punish you if you're not on it 100%. I mean, potentially. I think the reason why we're talking about Spain in this way is because of the stuff that's going on kind of in and around the camp. I don't think it's anything on the players. They've certainly got the players to go far in this tournament. But I think the distractions, the things that are happening in and around the camp, potentially, we don't know. Spain might go on and win it, and we all look like, but that's what predictions are there for. And ultimately, we don't know until the tournament kicks off.
If it makes them feel any better, I've got Spain progressing, but not past the quarterfinals.
Interesting. It's an interesting shout. Sang's not happy with you. I can see what you're trying to do, Sang. Get her out. Chelsea have got too many players. You don't need anyone
He's
else.
never happy with me.
And before we move on, John, really appreciate your support as well. Make sure you're liking and subscribing as well. We have got a lot of stuff planned for the next month or so keep an eye on all of the socials for that. We'll move across to the Netherlands then. Just a single player over there for the time being. Jackie Groenen then. Now, we've done a show recently on kind of her importance to United and why United can't afford to lose her. So I want to talk a little bit about kind of the influence that she has in this Netherlands side, because it's not completely different, but it is different to the way that obviously plays under Skinner. Now, they play obviously a three in midfield. To the right of the three, she usually plays for that Dutch side. But Charlie, your kind of initial thoughts on this Dutch side, really, and kind of how Jackie can fit into that? Because like I said, it's a different style to what she plays with United under Skinner.
I think even with the previous manager with Weigman there, I think Jackie played, we often say Jackie plays her best football for the Netherlands, and that'll be because potentially how they're playing better suits her. I think her importance is clear to see because of how often she plays. And I think even in the game against the Netherlands, where England beat them 5-1 with a really good second half, she still played really well. She still put in a really good performance. Unfortunately, she was one of the few that did, which was the issue. I agree with Marta there. I think she's probably underrated, or not under. I don't know how you can underrate her. I'm not sure if it's underrated, but I just think for some reason she's perhaps not playing as much as we think she should. When you look at her starting consistently for the Netherlands, and we talked about Vilde, didn't we? Perhaps not starting as much for Norway as she'd like, perhaps because of the lack of minutes for United. And you could almost say the same thing for Jackie. She's probably not played as many full 90 minutes as she would like, but she's still getting selected. Yeah, that's probably the word for Marty. Is still getting selected consistently for Netherlands and consistently one of their best players. And I think she works incredibly hard as well as being technically gifted. She doesn't just seem to rely on that. She's not a bit of I'm just a really good footballer, so I'll sort of stroll around a little bit and do bits and pieces here or there. She works incredibly hard and she just keeps going. She's relentless. And particularly in, I think, tournament football, knockout stages, you need players that will work that hard and whose standards just never drop. You never watch Jackie Groenen play and say, oh, she's not worked that hard today. So she's got every single facet you would want probably from a footballer at club level and international level as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a stacked Dutch side, isn't it, as well? When you add Jackie in there, like you said, I think that the fact that she consistently plays when she doesn't consistently play for United clearly shows her importance on the team, because as we said with Vilde, she's not getting minutes at United, so maybe that's why she's not getting as much minutes as she should do for Norway. Barry, throwing it over to yourself then, in terms of do you think this kind of three in midfield is suiting her better when she's going over there? Or I am going to ask this question. Do you think it's more of a kind of maybe a Pogba situation that we saw with the Man United men's side, that better for the national side, maybe prefers the setup there than club level?
Well, that's a shout and a half, isn't it? I think when I first saw Jackie, she swept me off my feet, and I couldn't get enough. I just couldn't. I love the effect I have on you. See where it goes. The last game that we saw Jackie in for the Netherlands, she was sort of two behind the three. So she was actually playing in a more defensive role rather than sort of like the playmakery sort of role that you would think that she has the ability to do. I don't think there's anybody on this planet who can doubt the technical ability of Jackie Groenen. And I think that the problem that you've got at United is that there's just so many midfielders. It's like one of those ridiculous puzzles that you get that is just really difficult to make. You know, like one of those things where you've got to make the pyramid and all the bits have been split up and it's really hard to put them together to make it the way that you want. And you keep on trying and you hope that eventually you'll get there and you never actually do. And that's sort of where I think we are at the moment. Well, I hope you don't mean like in a Karate Kid sort of way, John, because I'm not well, mate. I think you've made me ill through the internet, fella. But no, I think she's technically amazing. She really is. And as Charlie said, she puts the effort in every single time she plays. I do think it's interesting, though, because I do think she is better internationally than she has been for club level. And I think it's another interesting thing that we said about Ella Toone, and I'm sure we'll get to, about how she seems to shoot and score more often for England lately than she has done for United. And Groenen's very similar. You know, she takes the long shot. She scored some absolute belters for the Netherlands, not least the one in the World Cup a few years ago. So Jackie's got absolutely everything you could possibly want in terms of... I've just seen what John's written again. He's a naughty boy. But yeah, I think she's got everything you can want in a footballer, to be fair. So I think Jackie will be a really important part of the Netherlands this year. And, you know, hopefully she'll play a lot of games and work very hard for them and help the Netherlands make it through to the next round.
100%. And this could be, it could be almost like a, you know, waving the hand to Mark Skinner potentially. If she has a really good tournament, again, you can't really ignore... You know, if a lot of these players, if they have really good tournaments, Skinner can't ignore that, you know, if you come off the back of the tournament. So, Elliot, again, I'll let you have the last word on Jackie then, kind of what you think the kind of tournament that she could have and kind of what you think her kind of best abilities are adding to this Dutch side.
I mean, like you just said, this could be a tournament where Mark actually can see you at her best and then maybe potentially choose him more for the club, because she's fantastic. She actually is when she comes on for United, but you see, it's when it's like when do you start or who do you start for? But for country, I think she can really go all the way with them. I think because she's one of the players on the team that just keeps going, and that's what I found when England won them the other week. She kept going and going, even though they got beat. She was a standout player for me, really. So I think this summer she can prove a point to Mark as well. Like, yeah, you need to start me more because I can do it. I can change the game, and that's what I hope happens, because I don't really like seeing her on the bench all the time. I don't know, coming off. I mean, I'd love to play full 90, but sometimes that's not the case these days for United. She always ends up coming off at the 65th minute or something. So hopefully this summer will prove a point for Mark especially. So hopefully, yeah. And I think they'll go in the final in Netherlands, and Jack will be like the saviour back for that team.
It's an interesting shout. So we're gonna get my words out. Gonna get to that in a moment in terms of which United player goes first. It could be Jackie. Jackie could be the one. Lifting the trophy. We'll move it over to the Lionesses, and we're not going to cover this in too much detail because we have done a lot of shows recently on the Lionesses. We did one last week, obviously, on Toone and Russo, and we had the Lionesses preview last week as well. But I'll open it up with the kind of question then in terms of, we got 3 in there. Which one's going to have the biggest influence on this side? I think it's the opening question I'll throw to each of you. You got Mary Earps in there. Her saves could be absolutely crucial in really tight games. You've got Ella Toone. If she's starting games, the kind of creative ability that she has. Could Russo be starting if she's coming off the bench? If Russo scores a winner, coming off the bench, that kind of impact as well. So I'll throw that question to each of you first. Charlie, I'll start with you in terms of who's going to have the biggest influence on this England side.
Just from a loyalty to the club point of view, I hope Mary Earps has a stormer, because I feel like there's a little bit of a not a backlash, but there seems to be people implying that she might not be the number one keeper, and it's a difficult selection decision when it hasn't looked like it's going to be for me. It's looked to me like Serena's going to pick Mary Earps, and I'm sure she's literally said that. My number one goalkeeper is Mary Earps. So I'm sure she will have a brilliant. She'll have a brilliant tournament. I think I'm sure I might have commented on a show last week, Connor, where I think Toone is going to go Wayne Rooney 2004. Absolute animal on this tournament. And I know like there's been a little bit of worry that she's maybe not played all of the minutes recently. I don't think that means that she's lost her place. I think she hasn't missed a game all season up to this point for club at every point. Like she played against Durham in the Conti, all these things, and for England in all the in the sort of 75 million international breaks, she's played every minute. So I wouldn't look at that and think she's not going to now play or she's lost that position. I think it's her tournament, and I'm desperate for a knee slide in the Stretford end. I'm going to be there. That's what I'm desperate for. I think there's lots of chat as well. Obviously, like Kirby's one of our greatest ever players, I think, in the women's game. Like for me, she's up there with like Kelly Smith. But I just feel like, and I take her in a heartbeat at United, of course, but I just feel like for England at the moment, things look more fluid and more like more's going to happen when Toone is playing in that 10 role for me. So I think she's the one who's going to have a massive impact. And I think with Russo, I just don't think she's going to get that many opportunities. And I just hope that when she gets them, she takes them. Like the two she's had so far, she came and scored a hat-trick, didn't she? In one of the games, obviously it was lower level opposition, but she came on and scored a hat-trick in 10 minutes. What more could you ask? And then she played phenomenally well in the game against the Netherlands, like worked so hard, won the ball back a lot, like upfield. I think England win the ball back in the attacking third more than any other side have recently. And she scored a brilliant goal that we know her for, which is being in the right place at the right time, finding the space between the two centre-backs and winning headers she shouldn't win. So I think overall it'll be Toone. It'll be Toone who will probably be most likely to make the biggest impact, just because you tend not to recognise goalkeepers unless they make a mistake, unfortunately. And I just hope Leslie, when she gets the opportunity, she comes in and she takes them and she throws the gauntlet down. Because they've talked about that, the Lionesses, haven't they? They've said it's not all nicey-nicey, like they get on really well, but there's competition. They're pushing each other to be better. And she is certainly one that's pushing Ellen White and Bethany England to be better, I think. But yeah, for me, Toone overall will be the one, I think.
100%. I think. Well, John is the only person agreeing with you at the moment with the Ella Toone shout, but maybe we'll get a couple more. We haven't heard from Barry and Ellie yet. But I think there's a lot of shouts in the comments for Earps, actually, purely based on the fact that potentially she's the only one that's a guaranteed starter out of the three. It would be a shame, and I do agree with Sang. I think we can all say Fran Kirby on her day when she's fully fit is one of England's best players, as Charlie said, probably best ever players. But at the moment, is she fully ready for a tournament? Doesn't look fully fit just yet. But Barry, same question to yourself then. Which of those three do you think are going to have the biggest influence on this side?
I think the best Manchester United player is going to be Fran Kirby. Just threw that one in there for Sang. I'm sure he'll enjoy that. Let's let that settle on his ears. I think for the best three, Earps, as we said, is the most likely to start. I'm actually going to go the other way. I think Toone's had the biggest impact so far. In terms of the three, I think, although Earps has taken over as number one, I actually think that the one who is going to have the biggest impact, I think this could be Russo's time to shine. I think we look at any previous tournaments that she's been in, any previous season she's been in, she's had the injury that's caused a few problems and she hasn't really had the chance to maintain that momentum. She's been looked after so well this season. Her return to the club was brought in so well. I think that she's really fit and ready to go. And I think she's got the possibility to absolutely own this tournament. You look at how she performed in the most recent game. Her header was absolutely superb. Obviously Beth England did a great job as well. And I've publicly rescinded my England is rubbish for England claim that I made, seeing as she shut me up, but I'm hoping I can reinstate that at some point. But no, I think Russo, actually, I think she's got a real chance if she gets on, even if it's as a sub. I think she's got a real chance, and if she can take that chance and show everybody, it's been her breakout year so far. I think she could prove to get some absolutely vital goals for England, because she's been doing that for United all season. So I kind of expect it from Toone. I expect it from Earps. I think Russo, for me, could be the one to have the biggest impact.
I'll tell you something. You and Sang, we've got to get this show organised. I really want to see you two, just nobody else, just you two on a show together and see how that goes. And
You're like Saban Greavesy.
just talk about United and Chelsea. That'll be fantastic. Ellie, throwing the same question over to yourself then. We've got Earps, we've got Toone, we've got Russo. Which one of those three do you think are going to have the biggest impact this summer?
I've got to say Toone. I think Toone, she'll make a massive impact, and that's what I mean. I hope she gets to start on Wednesday or even comes off the bench and score an absolute banger in front of a Stretford end, because that's what we want that as United fans. We really do. We might have Stretford end and then obviously do an east side or something like that. That's what I hope to see. But then again, she only normally comes off the bench because she's always competing with other people. I think Earps as well.
Oh, sorry, I can never tell whether you've like frozen or whether you finished talking. Go on, Charlie. I know you wanted to jump in on that.
I'm just like listening to that. Isn't it like, if you think about past England sides for the women, we talk about now going, oh, if it's not Fran Kirby, oh, we'll just have to play Ella Toone, and oh, if it's not her, oh, it'll just have to be Georgia Stanway. Like, it's unreal, isn't it? If Russo can't get on the pitch because Bethany England's there, it's just brilliant. I think brilliant going forwards. I think this just pushes home as well, sort of the strength in depth that England have. We've got a really good opportunity, I think, this time to sort of put a marker down and be seen as a bit of a force really in the women's game.
100%. This show is going to happen. Saying you're going to get banned from YouTube. I want to see this.
Can I just say, there's never been anything but respect between Sang and I. I don't think there'd be any such thing as banning. Not at all. But it would be highly entertaining, I'm sure.
Well, when United play Chelsea in the new season, we'll get that. There's a few people putting their hands up for being refereeing and judge here.
Yeah, bring them in. Bring them on. Love it.
Right, we've come to the time of the show. Then we've been kind of half bouncing around the topic a little bit. I'm going to ask you all, but I don't want you to name a player yet. So I'm going to ask you all for a yes or no answer first. Will we be seeing a United player lift the trophy? Don't name any names or anything like that. Just a yes or no. I'll go around each of you first. Start with yourself, Charlie.
No.
Barry.
See, yes, we.
Ellie.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, right. So
I love the way she kept the tension going. They were like, actually frozen. Actually, oh, she's nodding. It's all good.
Suspense building.
Okay, so I'll come to yourself, Charlie. Why no? So in that case, you're going for Sweden, Germany, who else? Denmark.
I think Sweden. My money is on Sweden. I think there'll be lots of United players in this littered across the semi-finals will be littered with them. But I can't look past Sweden at the moment. There's lots of people in the comments that I think are chatting about Sweden, which is good because generally day to day when I talk about it at work, there's no mention of Sweden. And to my friends that aren't you guys, they just seem to not be being mentioned at all. And they're the second ranked team in the world. And a really, really good footballing side, well supported, well drilled, with a really strong team, sort of back to front. So they're the winners for me. I would love it. I would love to see first England to win it, and if not, a United girl to lift the trophy. But I think Sweden will pip everyone to the post.
You went full on Keegan then with your. I love it. You want your you want blood here.
I hope we beat them. I hope we beat them.
A bit more curl in the hair. She'd be there, wouldn't she?
And massive headphones.
Massive headphones. Love it if we beat them.
Barry, you said yes. So which United player is going to be lifting the trophy at the end of this tournament?
Well, I do have Sweden making it to the semi-finals. So that should give you some indication. I've got England making the semi-finals and being the team that face Sweden and ultimately knock them out. The other semi-final, I've got France and Norway. So my final, I actually think it's going to go all the way back to England against Norway. So really pick any one of those 4. But those are the ones that I've decided.
5.
5, sorry. 5. I was thinking of Thor. But yeah, out of all of those, we're going to get that. So yeah, it's any one of those Toone teams.
I can't host shows with you anymore, Barry. You just make me laugh too much when you come out with these. You must have them written down. I swear you've got like something behind your camera just written down with those with these one-liners. I can't remember what was the question now. Oh, that was it. Ellie, you said yes as well. So which United players or player do you think is going to be lifting the trophy at the end of the tournament?
It's got to be the 3 Lionesses. I'm sorry, but it's got to be the 3 Lionesses, Toone, Russo, and Mary. I'm sorry, but they're going to lift that trophy. That's the name. It'll be them 3. I hope it don't come back to haunt me now, but yeah, them 3. It's got to be them 3.
It could well be. I think I do this all the time. I ask a question, I don't even have an answer myself. I actually had a Sweden-Norway fight, but I actually don't think that is going to be the case. I'm going to say no as well, purely on the basis that I've got Sweden going all the way as well. I just think this is their time to finally, get over the line. Obviously, want redemption from the Olympics and things like that. I just think that squad, if they click, I don't think there's a better squad of players when you're looking at it. But there's a couple of other shouts as well. Like I said, I can see Norway going far. The Lionesses, obviously, minimum semi-final, I think, would be when you're looking at that England team. Spain and Netherlands, it's a tough one. I can't see either of those making it the full distance either. But
we've said all this. We know it's going to be Northern Ireland now.
How good is quarterfinal A and B going to be, though? When you think of 2 of Denmark, Germany and Spain, probably England and Norway, that's amazing. They're almost semi-final-esque right there.
Absolutely. I'm taking this as victory. Especially now I've had his cat as well. Look at that. It's amazing. Coffee-flavoured ginger cat. What a world.
I'm clipping that up and sticking that on Twitter after this. Speaking of clipping things up and sticking things on Twitter, Barry, I want you to. You don't have to if you don't want to. But on Friday, you announced your little predictions league. So if you want to go through that again and just what that is, how people can enter it, and all things in between on that one.
Okay, so putting things simply, if you're interested in taking part in a, as you have rightly called it, predictions league, do feel free to come on over to my Twitter, which is just there for you. Look, OT is my church. Come and see me and send me a DM and let me know all of your potential scores that you think are going to happen all the way through match week 1. And as if by magic, dun, dun, dun. I'm never as fast as Connor, so it never works as well.
I was going to say, you're adding the suspense now.
But there you go. You should be able to see it now. Even zoom in a bit for you. So I won't run through the point system again. You'll just have to trust me that I will do that properly for you. But if you can send me through your predictions for the first set of games via DM, you have some smashes there. You've got England, Austria, Norway against Northern Ireland, Spain, Finland, Germany, Denmark, Portugal, Switzerland, Netherlands, Sweden, Belgium, Iceland, finishing off with France versus Italy. And if you can send those scores through to us, by all means, that would be apps. Are the rules downloadable? Well, they are on my Twitter. So if you click on that, I know that Connor's going to retweet all this stuff and send it all out as well on the AFU official Twitter as well. So that's going to come out. So you'll absolutely have both of the sides of this slide that we've been showing. But yeah, it would be really good to get everybody, especially everybody who's been here talking about all the things that they think are going to happen, who's going to win and who's not. I suppose really what we're getting at, Connor, is we're going to work out who actually knows their onions and who is really just donkey walking around asking how it is that onions have layers. I think that's basically where we're going with this one. And onions do have layers.
Oh, crikey. Do you know what? I'm worried though, because if I get every single one wrong, people are going to be coming for my job. They'll be like, "Oh, he can't go on there again. Look at him, bottom of the league table." But it is.
Oh no, I'm fairly certain that in order to be able to get on these things, you need to not know what you're talking about. That's generally
but make sure. I will retweet all of that. Well, put it all out on the AFU Twitter in a bit. So keep an eye on that. And tomorrow as well, I'll make sure it's out there. But make sure you message Barry for that, or message the AFU Twitter account if you can't find Barry, even though his Twitter is down there. Message one of us, and we'll add it all to the predictions league. It's going to be a lot of fun. And if it goes well, if we get it, we'll see how it goes. We'll potentially do a WSL one as well when the new season starts. And get that up and running as well. But yeah, it's a bit of fun, and we want to see who is who is best.
At the moment, these are the only scores that I've got. So John at the moment is currently going to be bottom and top. So it'd be an idea to get some sent in. Otherwise, John is going to win by default, which would be entertaining but wrong all at the same time.
That is the best comment of the night. I like that. I try. I just for you, say I try. Just for you. Well, let's wrap it up there then. Thanks everyone for coming on. Charlie, Barry, Ellie, you've been fantastic as always. Like I said, we'll have a few shows this week. I'm not sure when we're going to do an Adriana Leon one. It will be in the next couple of days. We'll get a show out, particularly on just talking all about Adriana Leon, our latest signing. Barry will be back on Friday. I believe Marty, who's in the comments, is on. Is there anyone else confirmed, Barry, for Friday?
I'll probably, but I'm far too ill to remember what I haven't. I'll be there, Marty will be there, and you can just guarantee it's going to be fun because it always is.
100%. Make sure you check that one out as well, because that's always a show to look forward to. And then we've a lot to talk about as well. Obviously, we've got the Leon transfer with the England game.
Sorry, Stu Woolley. We've got Stu Woolley guaranteed for next week. The man who loves Thor.
Thor super fan, yeah.
Yes, Love and Thunder. Or Love and Woolley, as we shall call him now.
Sag, I swear, we're going to have to get you on shows.
The medication's starting to kick in.
We're going to have to get you on shows, Sang, because you are fantastic. Make sure you're liking and subscribing as well. Like I said, we've got a lot of stuff planned over the Euros. We'll be following the Lionesses in particular. May have a few match reactions and all kind of things like that over the next few weeks as well. So make sure you keep an eye on that. I'm not bringing that comment up, Sang. We'll wrap it up there. There is an outro, so I'll play that one now. Speak to you all very soon.